My name is Supreme Understanding, and I'm depressed. I mean, I'm writing to that with a smirk, but it's nothing, to laugh about, to joke about. I mean, I'm dead serious. Matter of fact, it took me a minute to even decide whether I wanted to address this topic, because it's something that's real close to me, and it's something that, paints me in the light that I may not want to be seen, because depression, man, that's people associate that with being vulnerable and weak and being a punk, and we don't talk about it. But I think that's exactly the reason why I need to talk about it, because if I don't think anybody will. So try not to cuss too much. I'm gonna try not to crack too many jokes. I'm gonna just tell the story. I'm gonna tell my side of the story, and hopefully we can develop some understanding, man. Hopefully we can start opening up a dialogue, because I really do think we need to start talking about depression. We need to stop acting like it's a bad word, like we can't say it, man. Like depression, we can talk about that. It's real. We suffering from it. We dying from it. We killing each other because of it. And I guess everybody's scared to talk about it. We'll talk about everything else, but we don't talk about that. And that goes back. It's got historical roots of why depression is taboo, especially among original people, black and brown people. You go other places in the world, people don't talk about depression. Even though when you look at people that are oppressed, you find that before we ran into Europeans, there wasn't no depression, wasn't no suicide, none of that. I mean, you could look at their studies, we talk about that in some of our books. But then when you encounter oppression and racism and white supremacy and just what's been done to us, you find people that are depressed, that are miserable, that are taking their own lives. The farmers out in India are doing it. You got farmers in Africa doing it now that the Western companies are taking over. And of course you find Native Americans and black men in America have some of the highest growing rates of suicide. Matter of fact, the highest rising rate of suicide in America is young black men. And we don't talk about why. We don't talk about, we're starting to talk about how there's more suicides coming out of the military than actual combat deaths, because we know the soldiers are suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, but we don't talk about how the average motherfucker living in the hood is suffering from PTSD. We don't talk about the stress syndrome that comes from, being in fucked up conditions. And some of us, our conditions are not even that fucked up, it's just our orientation with the world is skewed and screwed up, because we know that something is wrong. We may not be able to put our finger on what. And those of us that are more intellectual and more analytical, like me, I'm more analytical. I've always been that way, and as a result, I've been depressed for a long time. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 14 years old, when my first time I attempted suicide. And this is all public record. I put all this in How to Hustle and Win, so it ain't no revelation unless you're just not familiar with my books. But I figure I need to talk about it in another form of media. But yeah, that was the first time I attempted suicide. I'd already been running away from home since I was 9, and all kinds of other problem behaviors, yeah, a lot. But I guess when I attempted suicide, they were alright, man, we need to look into this dude because he's acting a little crazy. So they tried to go the medication route, but I didn't want to do that. I just didn't want to be like a zombie. I didn't want to be drugged up. I didn't want to feel like I had fallen victim to myself. So I started reading up on depression, and I started treating myself, and that's around the time I got knowledge of self, so that helped a lot, because it really drove me to want to understand. But I don't think I resolved every issue, because one thing about depression is what the drugs do is that they help to offset chemical imbalances that are occurring in your brain. They don't really resolve the issues, but whatever chemical imbalances may be making the issues worse, they deal with those. And so, they've done studies that show that, our brains are being wired differently now. I know for a fact that, my life is 10 times better than it was when I was 14, 15. Some people would say that I got it all. I got a family, I'm not struggling like I was. People got love for me. People would say life is good. yet still, like, I find myself sinking into that pit, and it's hard to come up out of it. It's like a vacuum, like a black hole. Like, once you go down that pit, like, you know, like, sometimes you just find yourself, like, wanting to drive into oncoming traffic and just say, fuck it. And that's something you can't do. Like, I got a family. But I just got to be honest and know, like, yo, man, I am prone to that type of thinking. Like, I am prone to just want to, like, say, fuck it. And, you know, like, they got drugs for that shit. You know, Prozac and Paxil and all that other shit, Zoloft, all that is a billion-dollar industry. And it's all an industry that's built off of oppression. Like, you got people fucked up and miserable, and now you're making money off of them getting medicated. I mean, there's natural, you know, remedies and things like that, like, because a lot of the antidepressants is based off of herbs and all that. So, you know, you got St. John's wort and a few others that we talk about in the Hood Health Handbook. But at the end of the day, you know, like, if your brain chemistry is just wired wrong, like, or you producing too much of one thing and not enough of another thing, it's hard. But at the very least, man, we should be able to talk about it. You know, it's good to be able to do things like what I'm doing now. Like, I'm already out of the sun. Like, it's good to be able to, like, get out into the sun. I'm still missing out on the sunlight. But, like, 90% of people of color are vitamin D deficient. One thing they don't realize is that, like, you being in tune with the sun also affects your melatonin production. It also affects how your brain chemistry develops. And as a result, you know, you sitting in front of a laptop like I do all day long, and you're on the cell phone all day long, all them what's the word, like, all them frequencies is, like, affecting your brain chemistry. Like, that's known. Plus you ain't getting no sunlight, that's affecting you too. That's known. Like, you need to get out here and rejuvenate. I don't do enough of that. I need to do more of that. A lot of things, man. Like, just being able to, like, get out and exercise. Like, things like that could really make a difference that we may not know will help. Like, having, like, support groups. Like, you ain't got to go to no, like, AA type support group. You could really just have a group of people that you know that you can trust. But because we're not ready to have them types of discussions, them groups don't develop. Like, it's still taboo for us. Hold on, I wrote some things down while I was driving. That's a damn shame that I be writing while I'm driving. Okay, so, like, what did I do when I was 14? Like, I self-medicated, which is what some of us are still doing as grown men, like, and women. You know, I was drinking away the pain, you know, or smoking away the pain. And that's just like a temporary fix. Like, that don't fix nothing. Like, you just temporarily feel better, and then, like, you're back more miserable. And what the way that drugs work, and that medication drugs work, is like, your brain chemistry needs more and more of the drug to be regular. So you always need more to be right. So then you become hooked to whatever it is that's getting you through the day. I needed to drink more and more just to feel okay. Unfortunately, I don't do that anymore, but, you know, still, like, man, like, even as a grown man, like, a lot of us, we have tendencies to run from life. Like, sometimes I just want to put the company down, like, just be done. Like, and it could be anything. Like, people think that it's always going to be a trigger. Now, some people, they are triggered. Like, they might have had a death of a parent or a loved one that happened at a specific time of year, and when that time of year rolls around, they're miserable. And I ain't one to say that one person's struggle is better or worse than another person's struggle, but that's different from my struggle because I've been like this for as long as I can remember. Now, maybe my home life screwed me up. Maybe me growing up in a dysfunctional household really, like, is what was the trigger. And maybe I'm scared of becoming like my father, or, you know, and when I have a moment like that, or maybe I got neglect issues from my mother, or who knows. You know, maybe I do have a trigger that I don't know about, but I know that it's like a constant battle for me. And people see me, like, with energy, and people see me, like, ambitious, and, like, people see me, like, grinding and like, enthusiastic about life and about saving the world. Like, I gotta give my life to the world, because if I don't obligate myself to the world, and if I don't obligate myself to my family, like, I ain't gonna have a reason for being here, for real. So, like, I offer myself to the world, and that what the feeling of me giving, it feels good. Like, that's like my medication. So every once in a while, when I get that hate back, that I guess comes naturally with being somewhat successful, it really is just like, damn, it's like the opposite of what I need. Because I'm like, damn, I do this for the people, and, like, you really, like, hating on me like I'm really trying to take advantage of somebody, or like I'm just like the biggest asshole ever, that shit hurts in a very profound way. Now I still jump up and be willing to tackle that shit and be a man about mine, but the internal chemistry that's going on, man, that shit is tough, man, and we don't talk about that because that shit is seen as weak. And a lot of us, man, rather than be seen as weak, man, we go out and we be extra strong. Like, that's where you see a lot of them, like, that beat on the chest, like that, the macho acts of, like, just ignorance. Like, we'd call it ignorance, but it's like a lot of us be trying to be tough enough to deal with our vulnerable moments. Like that's where you see, like, there's another kind of suicide. It's called suicide by proxy, which is basically where a brother, and it happens a lot with black men, where you got brothers that are literally put themselves in a situation where they know they're going to get killed, and they'll do it. They'll put themselves in these predicaments because that's their strong way of going out with a bang. Because then they ain't had to ever admit that they was weak. And, man, trust me, I know about that. And I know a lot of people that's listening to this know about this. So the question that leaves us with is, what can we do with it? Like, what can we do about that? Because, hell, a lot of us don't even know what happiness is. This Western society, man, gave us the wrong idea about happiness, man. You would think happiness is owning some shit. Then you owning some shit and you miserable. Look at all these white people that got all this money, man. They ain't happy. They on all kinds of drugs. They ain't happy. Happiness is not having shit. I mean, you can find happiness in the family, but if you don't have happiness within, if you don't get, like, love, peace, and happiness within yourself, like, you're not going to find it nowhere else outside of yourself. So, like, we really have to start, like, learning to love ourselves, and some of that is only going to happen through dialogue and discussion. Like, you really do have to have them builds with other people. I probably got myself in the shadow, like, the way I was aiming the camera. And I'm not going to edit this. Like, for those of y'all that are interested in, like, the old me, like, where I was, drinking my life away and all that, like, read How to Hustle and Win. You can read the Hood Health Handbook. We do have some strategies and some ideas for combating depression. We got some stuff specifically on black male depression in there. And that does, begin the process that we need to engage in. But, man, the first step, man, is like, first step to anything is accepting you got a problem, man. We're not even talking about it. So let me get the ball rolling, man. I put myself on it. I put myself out there like I do with everything else. I'll put myself out there. I'm Supreme Understanding, and I'm depressed, And I know I'm going to bounce back. Like, I know that's the way it go, man. It's like a wave. I know that. But I can honestly say that these moments like this, man, that shit could take me under at any given moment. And I know that there's a million other people out there that can relate. So, the next chance you get, man, have that conversation. I guarantee you talk to somebody about it, they're going to be like, man, I'll be going through that too. And at the very least, man, at least you got a partner to talk to, man, when you feeling like you're going through it. Maybe I'll do that too. Peace.